Hey Colin, it's good to hear from you once again, man. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to this last night. I just had a really long day at work, and I had some time this morning. I figured I'd pump this out this morning. Um, First of all, I know you said you had taken a little bit of time off, which is fine, man. I like I told you, it's tough to play good golf whenever you're not out there a ton. And hey, I totally get it, man. Um, but some things that I see going on in your swing. I'm glad you got some new irons. That's going to give you a little bit of inspired confidence, I would say, as far as you know hitting the ball correctly and working on what we're working on. And trusting that. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's trusting that we're working on the right things here. So on the right here, I have Jason Duffner. I picked him specifically because he is a really good example of what I think we should start working on more. And I know you said something about setup, so this is just going to be perfect. Okay, all right. So let's quickly go over Jason Duffner's setup. So he's got his arms hanging directly over his shoulders. So what I want you to do to visualize this, Colin, is step up to the ball like you're about to hit it, but then bend your back over a little bit more and put your arms straight down. And that's where you need to grip your club at. All right. So bend at your waist a little bit more, keeping that back very straight, kind of like Duffner's is here. He has a little bit of curvature, but overall pretty straight. He's bent more at the waist and he's letting his arms just hang, and that is where he ends up gripping the club at. All right, and then let's talk about from there where that shaft is pointing at. So it's pointing, I would say, right at like a little below the belt buckle, maybe right at the belt line. So this is going to be key to your setup here. All right, as far as what we're going to be talking about on this lesson, we've got to nail this. All right, and listen, dude, this part's gonna feel really odd, especially the first time. I remember the first time I got in this position, it felt really odd. But trust me on this. If we're gonna really get our game to the next level, we've got to nail this setup here, and it starts all right there. All right, so we're standing up in our straight posture where we got our arms now hanging below our shoulders. All right, and I want you to watch Duffy here. All right, and one thing that he does, he's notoriously, he's kind of has a shorter backswing, which is great. But one thing I want you to notice here is there's no really wasted movement in his swing. It's very simple. He just turns his shoulders. All right, and his hips are very turned out there. I would say his belt buckle is probably, let me get the pointer here. Let me go up to the top and I'll get the pointer. See, he's already starting to move a little bit there. I would say his belt buckle is pointing, somewhere out here, 45 degrees or so. But the important part here is his shoulders are pointing right back at the camera. All right, shoulders pointing right back at the camera. He's pointing at about 45. Gets a nice little rotation through it and just pured it down the middle. All right, so that's what I'm going to start working on with you now. Is we've got to turn more and shorten our swing a little bit. All right, so I want you to show you a few things that I was taking a look at before I started recording. We get up to the top. We have a 9. We're turning. But right here, after about here, our hips don't turn or our shoulders really don't turn anymore. I would say a lot of that is kind of wasted motion, which is tough to repeat. Because I mean, Duffner, like I said, his simplicity of his swing, it's tough to mess up almost. He only goes to there. All right, and that's where we need to start working on is getting that a little bit shorter. So you do a good job turning your shoulders. We're turning. Right here we stop. All right, all this extra stuff is kind of just wasted motion. And like I said, it's tough to repeat this. I mean, look at your arms here. This is what I'm looking at currently. Your arms here is that's the only thing moving. It's just it's tough to repeat. I would call it a lift is what I guess the correct golf term for it is we're just lifting the club up. We're not really doing anything other than just moving it with our arms, which is tough to be repeatable that way. All right, so like I said, we're just going to work on shorting it. I don't want your arms moving anymore past what your shoulders do. So Duff's shoulders stop there. They stop moving. So do his arms. He stops right there as well. All right, and what this is going to do is it's going to flatten you out a little bit, because this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, our setup. You mentioned how you have to stand really close to the ball or you toe it all the time. All right, when we set up correctly, you're not gonna that'll be gone completely. I'll quickly kind of go over why you toe the ball unless you set up a little bit closer to it. Right now you're pulling it a little bit over the top and exiting really left with the club, which is fine. But your ball probably always start a little bit left, sometimes maybe left low, because there's little room for your hands to come in here. All right, we got about that much room compared to Duffy's, where we got, that a little bit there. But with our shoulders closed a little bit too, oops, I got a circle. Our shoulders are closed a little bit compared to our line, which is over our feet line. Oh, I'm bad at drawing lines on this thing some days. Our feet line's that way, our shoulders are kind of more pointing to the left. So the only way you're really going to hit the center of the face is if you come over the top just a little bit and pull across it. But like I said, we're going to change that by fixing our setup. All right, we got to make sure our shoulders are aligned, our hips are aligned, our feet are all aligned. And we talked about that in previous lessons. But now we're just adding in the arms hanging straight below our shoulders and our shaft pointing at our belt buckle. All right, and I feel like I just kind of overlined us there, but what the point is here is we're getting back to staying in the plane of the golf swing, where over here, let me go right there. See, I mean, even just comparison right here, Dufner's is there's a lot more of an air consistency, I guess. There's a lot more plane to work with here. See how he kind of stays right in the middle of it this whole time. He gets a little steep there. He always does. He hits a fade though. That's why. See, as where ours is pretty upright, so we have to be very, very upright to really nail that consistently. Which is our club coming down is almost pointing straight up, which is tough. It is tough. But like I said, we're gonna really work on our setup, and like I said, with turning, okay, we've got to keep turning. Our hips, I want you to point a little bit more this way at the top. So I want you to work on turning those hips a little bit more. But let's work on that wasted rotation. All right, no more lifting at the top. Once our shoulders stop, our arms need to stop, just like Dufner. All right, and that's going to flatten you out a little bit. All right, so we're just going to work on that for now. You send me a quick video, what you think, how things are going, and listen, dude, it's going to be ugly before it's better. But like the first thing I talked about in this video, we've got to trust what we're working on and trust that it is the correct thing that we're working on, okay? All right, Colin. Well, let me know how it goes. Just shoot me a quick video if you're having trouble, and like a text or something, and I will, I'll respond to you real fast. Say, yeah, that looks great, or hey, you need to work on this, this, and this real quick, and then eventually, you can send me another video for another analysis too. Okay. But like I said, you reach out to me when you're hitting balls, and I'll be more than happy to help. Like I said, sorry I wasn't there yesterday. It was just a crazy day. But like I said, I'm your instructor, man. I'll be here to help you along the way, and really, we're gonna get back to ball striking, especially with those new irons, man. I bet you're excited to use them. So, looking forward to touching base again, Colin. You reach out to me anytime. All right, text, email, call, whatever. Okay. All right.